can't make it. I'm gonna record, okay? Yeah, look out for everybody, y'all. Okay, y'all can see?
Yes.
We're still good, perfect. Um, Hold on, let me go back. I'm letting people in. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so credentials that are given in this profession are one is certifications, and certifications are usually and typically given by professional organization and sometimes by state or training facility. For an example, I'm a school counselor in Texas, and in Texas we have to take a certification exam to be certified to be a school counselor for elementary all the way through high school. So that's one of the things, and we have to follow the ACA Code of Ethics as well, on top of Texas. Um, then there's licensures. We're on here. We're all on here to get the license, and the license, it is a legal status dependent on the state laws, and having a master in the related field is typically required. Just in case, I'll say the code of ethics and the standards of practice. This is a hint, okay? Ethic codes are developed by professional associations and licensing board to protect and promote the welfare of the client. Everything is going to be for the client. On the test, everything is for the client. Nothing is for the counselor. Okay. So basically, they said they created the ACA, Code of Ethics, just for the protection of the clients. Okay. So, I know some people are just hopping in. I'll explain what we're doing because I talked to some people already. The goal of doing this Wednesday ACA Code of Ethics read is for us to come together every Wednesday and read a section. It's enough of us to read a whole section. So I research and find out for us to comprehend information, we will have to read it twice. So, how this is going to go, one person is going to read a standard, and then another person is going to go and reread the same standard until we finish all the standards in section A. Next week, we'll hit section B, and then C, and then the rest. Okay? It is a committed situation, which is kind of like those behavioral techniques. You got to commit to it. But you have the right to opt out, which is one of the code of ethics as well. So let me move this so I can see. So section A talks about the counseling relationships, okay? So the primary responsibility of counselors is to respect the dignity of and to promote the welfare of who?
Clients.
The client.
Clients.
Nothing about us. It's always about the client. Okay? Remember that. Let that stick in. This section of the code addresses issues of informed consent, discrimination, disclosure, dual, that sometimes it's called multiple relationships, sexual intimacies with clients, abandonment, termination, fees for referrals from other professionals, as well as the acceptance of fees from a client privately slash directly to the client is entitled to the services through the agency for which the counselor works. All right. Some important things to note as we go through and we read. However, I think it's imperative if we pull out the most important things. Okay. The whole thing is important, but these kind of important. So these are some vocabulary that we need to know. Autonomy, there's 6 more principles. Okay, so autonomy is counselor respect. Counselors will respect the right of clients to make their own choices and control their own lives. The client has to be right. They have the right to leave the counseling relationship at any time they want. Okay, that's in the intro. We'll get to it. Benevolence, probably say that wrong, but Counselors actively pursue what is good and helpful for the client. Okay. For an example, if you are the agency, if you are, yeah, I wrote that wrong. If you are in an agency that does not have a counseling, um, don't have the counseling that that client needs, then you, as the counselor, have the responsibility to help this couple or these people to find a counselor who does. So you can't leave them hanging. You can't say, sorry, we don't do that. You got to find somewhere else. No, we have to work with them for them to find somewhere else and make sure that they are safe because we just care about the welfare of who?
The
The
client.
client.
The client. Yeah. Yes. This next one right here, I'm not even gonna chop this word up. If you know it, can you say it?
Non-maleficence.
There you go. Mean, do no harm. Okay. Counselors avoid hurting clients. For an example, you can't see the whole thing. For an example, be sensitive in the use of your assessments, diagnostic, and treatment procedures. Be aware of how these results can kind of hurt them. Okay, so basically, that's what that means. Do no harm to your client. Then there's justice, committing to a fairness and a non-discriminatory and equitable in the treatment of all clients, regardless of age, sex, race, disability, culture, socioeconomic status, religion, or sexual orientation. Okay, these are words we have to just know. The next word, fidelity. Um, the counseling relationship is based on trust, okay? So keep your promises and honor the commitment, okay? For an example, practice professional disclosure. Professional disclosure is, for an example, how Paul Rogers always talk about having genuineness and congruence. Basically, what that means is if the client is, say they are shocked, you're gonna act shocked. If they're happy, you act happy with them. Make sure your face is matching your body and be real with them. However, there is techniques that you would take to further the relationship to pull it close. Like you'll professionally disclose something too. Like if they're going through something that they trauma in their life, and if you kind of had that same trauma, very small and professionally, open up and tell them a little bit, you know? That furthers the relationship, but it has to be a professional disclosure. All right. Informed consent. We'll get more into it, but informed consent is the biggest thing on this code of ethics deal. And I'll explain it more. Maintenance of confidentiality, misrepresenting or withholding the truth, and avoiding or dealing appropriately with dual/multiple relationships. The next one is obligated to deal truthfully and honestly with your clients. Be real with your people. Okay? We're doing good?
Yes.
Perfect. So there's some important cases I thought was very important to pull out. They talk a lot about on the test, they would talk about the Tarasoff versus regents of the University of California. So if you don't know the story about it, basically this dude was going to, he was seeing a counselor. And he was having some problems with his girlfriend, and he was really mad at the girlfriend. I don't know what she did. She probably cheated or something. Well, he was really upset, and he told the counselor, like, I'm gonna go kill her. Okay? So when he left the session, she told the campus police. The campus police pulled him and just questioned him, didn't see a problem with just questioning him or whatever. He seemed okay, they let him go. Well, he went and killed her. Okay. So they proposed a mandated law, not even a law, like a mandated ethics or whatever to have the duty to warn. So if that happened to us and there's a client that said he's gonna go kill his wife, right? If he have if he's in imminent danger, or he say, I got a gun in my car, I'm about to go kill her, you really just don't want to let him leave. You're gonna have to call the police, and then you're gonna have to break confidentiality and call the person and warn them that he said he's gonna do this. Okay? Only one in a few times you'll break confidentiality. All right? So if somebody is in immediate danger, saying they're gonna kill themselves, they're gonna harm somebody else, or anything like that. Keynote. Um, then they talk about FERPA a little bit. FERPA is the Buckley Amendment. So basically, what FERPA is free education. I mean, this has something to do with minors. For this is a school setting type of law, and all it says is for a minor, once they leave the school, and say you're a school counselor, are you counseling in a school setting? When they leave the school, that they have the right to come and get their records. Okay. And then you'll get us sent from the minors if their parents are coming to get it. All right. And then, of course, individuals with disabilities, which is IDEA, that's mainly in the special education setting. All that is saying that all of people that are dealing with disabilities, they have the right to be in a least restrictive environment. So, for an example, just because they have an intellectual disability, that don't mean they can't go into general population. Like they have to be in a least restrictive environment. So if the least restrictive environment is life skills, and we feel that that is appropriate, then that's what it is. But if they can function in a regular classroom and go back to life skills, then we have to honor that. That's what that means. Okay, so here's some important rules to point out, and then we'll get to the reading, okay? Competence, okay? Practice what you preach. You cannot be in there trying to counsel people if you don't even know what you're doing. Like this has to be in your scope of practice, okay? Scope of practice, that's important. You have to understand, be knowledgeable of the techniques you're going to be using. If you're going to be doing some integrative counseling or eclectic kind of deal, like just taking the techniques, or you're going to be adopting a whole model and switching it up and doing however, you have to know what you're doing, okay? If you do not know what you're doing, if and only if, I prefer you talk with a supervisor or a colleague, but most likely it's going to lead to you referring out. Referring out would be the last thing you want to do because you want to be the best one for it. But if you cannot do it, do not sit there and act like you can, because you'll be breaking the ACA code of ethics. Okay? We good?
Yes.
Then there's dual and multiple relationships. Okay? I heard Dr. Pam say this and I thought it was perfect. If you've seen this person naked, you cannot counsel them. That's a friend, a mom, a cousin, an ex-husband, an ex-boyfriend, a friend with benefits, anything. If you've seen that person naked, you do not want to counsel them. If you're that close in relationship, don't counsel them, okay? Never, ever, ever sleep with your clients, ever. But you can sleep with them, or have a different kind of relationship, a friendship, a do-it-ship, or anything like that with it after 5 years from the last date of termination. Okay? How long you have to wait until you sleep with somebody that you counseled?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years. From when?
The last
That
session.
last day
Last
That
return.
last date of that section, you can start counting. Like if this was Mr. Dreamy and like, whoa, I can't wait till these 5 years up so I can get you the last date that you saw him. Okay? Or however you do it. Informed consent. Informed consent is so important. I have to use that as a school counselor, okay? So informed consent, this is how it is in school counseling, which leads over to the professional. So when a student or someone come in, I have to, because in counseling, you might want to have this in writing. For me, I can verbally say it. So when they come in, I have to tell them before I talk about anything is whatever we talk about in here stays in here. However, I will have to break confidentiality if I suspect neglect, if you want to harm yourself or you want to harm somebody else. Also, if I get subpoenaed to go to court to tell them something on your behalf, I have to break confidentiality to a certain extent. They say yes, we can continue. In this setting, you say all of that, plus you put your fees in there, the counseling thing, technique you're going to use, the participation you need from them. Let them know, if you're using telemed or anything like that, that your records might be on the computer. Like you have to make sure everything is covered on you, okay? This is the contract that would clearly explain the whole nature of the process. Make sure it is clear. The client understands. So this has to be something, the client cannot have a small case of intellectual disability if they don't comprehend. You kind of have to make sure that they understand, and if they have like someone with them that they understand. But even them understanding, we can't tell that person what this person is telling us in counseling sessions, if that makes sense. And that the client knows that they are freely acting on decision-making process. Okay. The first thing was what? Autonomy. They have to know you are very free to end this if you want to. So also put the payment options and fees and everything in there. If you plan on using a collection agency, if they don't pay, you have to let them know that you're going to use that. Okay. Record keeping. How long you think we have to keep their records?
I don't know, don't tell me
5 years,
forever.
right? Or 7?
Is it 7 years?
So
Used to
most of
be.
them say 7 to 15. However, you want to adhere to your state. Okay. The answer would be adhere, and I'll show you in the code of ethics. Yes, Rosenthal, other people say about 7 to 15 years. However, in the code of ethics, I have to read it for myself. It says adhere to your state law. Okay. Your state might say something different, but if there's an answer on there that say adhere to the state law, that's what we picking. All right. Matter of fact, on all of them, if it say adhere to the state law, 9 times out of 10, that's the right one, unless you know the answer. Counselors, they have to make sure that we safeguard their records, the documents necessarily rendered to professional services. So we would have to, like, if we have a private practice, we have to teach the like administrative team and everybody who's around how even if we put a folder up, you don't look in the folder, you just file it, okay? Because we are responsible to keep the confidence of our clients. Okay, so we have to train them how they can't be looking through it. You have to, if you see it, you put it up. Okay. Um, Check with your state to see how long, and the client has the right to their records. However, they have, you can make the decision to give them all or some. Because remember, we do not want to do them any harm. So if there's something in our notes that say something that can possibly hurt them, we don't have to give it to them. Okay, so we have the choice of what we can give them. If it's going to hurt them, we don't need to give it to them. We can give them some, but we're not going to give it to them. And how are you going to do this? Because you disclose that in your informed consent. When records are requested, I am liable to give you some or whatever I think you can handle. If the client is not in a position where you want to give them records, like if they come in there and they upset and they're mad, and you think if they get these records, they might kill you, you don't got to give them the records, okay? Just say no. So you have the right. However, because we have the right, you have the right to also, I would not give them the original copies. of the records. You can make a copy. You sign it and they sign it, so they have original signatures. However, your original copy belongs to you. You can even charge them to get a copy. Like everything is about money. I'm sorry. Like it's a business. Um, and then setting fees. Fees must be set to reflect the market. Okay, we can't be hitting nobody over the head just because we're the best. All right. Um, for private practice, you have the right to have a flat rate. If your clients are kind of in the financial hole, you can do a sliding scale, which means like if we look at how much you make, maybe we can adjust the fees to your income and all the things you have behind it, right? And then whatever you choose, that's your thing. Your flat rate is what you choose. Whatever, like I said, if you're using a collection agency, just make sure they know. If you don't pay, I would send it to the collection agency and they'll put it on your credit until I get my money. Okay, we good? Bartering. Anybody know what bartering means?
Exchanging something for something else.
Mm-hmm. Working for whatever the culture is where you're working. Like for an example, I live in this town called Fulshear, Texas. It's very country out here, which is building up. However, I imagine years ago, there were like one or two counselors probably here, and it's very rural. It's a whole bunch of cows and everything. Most people would probably be used to working for chickens or for eggs or anything like that. If that was the culture still here, and if they want to see me and bring me eggs or bring me chickens, I can do it if I wanted to, if it was the culture around here. Okay? That's what that means. Receiving gifts. I put that on the thing. Can we receive gifts?
I didn't think we
Oh.
could.
Yes.
We can receive
Yes.
gifts. Yes. There is no value in receiving gifts either. Now, if your agency say you can receive gifts under $25, then you got to go with the agency. However, the goal is for all of us to have private practice. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but for me, so receiving the gift, you can receive it if that's in your client's culture. Okay. If your client maybe for let's see, for Kwanzaa or something, for them to thank you, they give you a gift or they make you something, you can take that, you know. You kind of want to take it because that's kind of the culture. Like for an example, culture in the Black culture, if you go to somebody's house and they offer you food, you better eat it. Or you gonna seem like you too good, right? Am I right? Or is that a Southern thing?
No, you right.
No, you right.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
Yes, same thing. If I come and I bring you something, like if I made you and knitted you a scarf, and then you tell me, oh, no, thank you. How do you think that makes you feel? So you can accept it. You can accept the gift. Use your moral judgment, though. They can't be coming in there and give you a Range Rover. And you be like, oh, thank you. Okay, we can't do that. That's kind of exploring exploring them, right? Anything that's gonna hurt them, no, we cannot do it. But you can accept the gift, especially if it has something to do with their culture. For the test, overall, accepting a gift, it's no, only if it has something to do with their culture. Okay? Got it? Can we accept the gift?
Yes, that makes sense.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Confidentiality regarding end of life. Okay, I talked to somebody who just took the test. This is on there. So I pulled it out. So what this means, in some states, that's why I said adhere to your state law. So what this mean, and we'll see it when we start to read, is have you ever heard of physician assisted death? So if somebody have like a real true illness and they just cannot do it, and they can go to the doctor and tell the doctor, all right, I'm tired, just go ahead and give me the 2 pills so I can go to sleep and never wake up again. Okay. If they disclose it to you, You do not break confidentiality. You do not judge. If that's what they're gonna do, that's what they're gonna do. You keep their records. And you still have the responsibility to hold their confidentiality. So even if somebody in the family comes and asks for the records, you say no, because you do not have their consent. Okay? But as how the rule will go or anything is it says adhere to the state law and it says it in there. But for a heads up, nobody get those records. You are still in the position to protect your client. Okay? Nobody get them. I don't even care if that's their baby, they husband, anybody. No, I can't give them to you. Pro bono work. That does not mean you work for free. Okay? Pro bono means you are giving back to the community. So even if you go speak at a seminar somewhere for free, or you help with some kind of school training, not putting it on because that's consultation, that's something different, but something very small. Or that even looks like if your client comes and they cannot afford the session, or the insurance kind of stop paying for it, you can come up with an agreement and tell them, okay, so your insurance was paying me $150 a session. I'll do it for you if you can pay $50. Okay, they say yes. That's part of pro bono. Okay, even if you want to charge that they can't do the $50 and you can do 15 minutes for $20, then that's still doing what you need to do for pro bono. Okay, get it? Then they have continuing education that we have to do. It's keeping your competence in the field. So it's kind of like trainings that you kind of want to keep, you want to do every now and then just to make sure you still hip on the stuff. Like for instance, new techniques that are coming out, you kind of want to stay on top of it, right? Because if they come to you and say, hey, and say you're doing like behavioral, like you're doing REBT or, helping them with irrational thoughts or CBT, right? Well, a part of the behavior techniques or anything like that, what if they come to you and they want systematic desensitization and, in there is EMDR and you say, oh, I don't know how to do that. Then you don't look competent, okay? Because that's still part of everything. Okay, so CEUs, it's a must. You have to. Any questions before we start reading?
No.
Everything was okay? Did I go too
Yes.
fast? Any questions?
Nope. Great job.
All right, y'all ready to read?
Yes.
You can tell I'm an educator, huh? Okay, so everybody know the rule of how we're gonna do this?
Yes. Read once and then read it again.
Okay, so one person gonna read and another person gonna come through and read it again. So section A, the counseling relationship. Somebody read the introduction, please.
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Counselors facilitate client growth and development in ways that foster the interest and welfare of clients
Of
and
who? I'm sorry, of who?
that foster the interest and welfare of clients and
Clients.
promote oh
Sorry, I just had to remember,
no,
y'all,
that's
it's on
okay.
there. Somebody told me
And,
clients,
and,
okay?
and promote formation of healthy relationships. Trust is the cornerstone of the counseling relationship, and the counselors have the responsibility to respect and safeguard the client's right to privacy and confidentiality. Counselors actively attempt to understand the diverse cultural backgrounds of the clients they serve. Counselors also explore their own cultural identities, how these affect their values and beliefs about the counseling process. Additionally, to society by devoting a portion of their professional activities for little or no financial return. Pro bono publico.
There you go. See, I ain't lying, y'all. Somebody else, let's read. Introduction.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Counselors facilitate client growth and development in ways that foster an interest and welfare of clients and promote formation of healthy relationships. Trust is the cornerstone of the counseling relationship, and counselors have the responsibility to respect and safeguard the client's right to privacy and confidentiality. Counselors actively attempt to understand the diverse cultural backgrounds of the clients they serve. Counselors also explore their own cultural identities and how these affect their values and beliefs about the counseling process. Additionally, counselors are encouraged to contribute to society by devoting a portion of their professional activities for little or no financial return. Pro bono, what is that? Publico?
Publicato or something. So do we work for free?
No.
It said to little or no. We don't gotta do the no, okay? Next, A1 client welfare. Anybody want to read that one?
I could do it.
Go
The
ahead.
primary responsibility of a counselor's the primary responsibility of a counselor's is to respect the dignity and promote the welfare of clients.
Of who?
Clients.
Somebody else read that one.
I can read it.
Okay.
The primary responsibility of counselors is to respect the dignity and promote the welfare of clients.
Of who?
The client.
The client.
Not the counselor, the client, okay? Which is sad, but that's okay. Okay, records and documentation. Anybody want to take that one?
I'll take a turn.
Go ahead.
Counselors create, safeguard, and maintain documentation necessary for rendering professional services. Regardless of the medium, counselors include sufficient and timely documentation to facilitate the delivery and continuity of services. Counselors take reasonable steps to ensure that documentation accurately reflects client progress and services provided. If amendments are made to records and documentation, counselors take steps to properly note the amendments according to agency or institutional policies.
Okay, somebody else want to take that one?
I can.
Go ahead.
Counselors create, safeguard, and maintain documentation necessary for rendering professional services. Regardless of the medium, counselors include sufficient and timely documentation to facilitate the delivery and continuity of services. Counselors take reasonable steps to ensure that documentation accurately reflects client progress and services provided. If amendments are made to records and documentation, counselors take steps to properly note the amendments according to agency or constitutional policies.
Okay, let me tell y'all about that. So I saw a practice question say, for an example, a client calls you, they're upset because they said that you didn't call them to remind them of something. You did call them. However, you forgot to document it. So there's no proof that you can go back and say, I did call you, I have it in the notes. So what will happen is you will have to document it, but you're going to have to document it from the day that you're documenting it, which they kind of can win an argument without you documenting it. So if it's an amendment, you make sure you put it in there, okay? Counseling plans. Somebody want to go?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Counselors and their clients work jointly in devising counseling plans that offer reasonable promise of success and are consistent with the abilities, temperament, developmental level, and circumstances of clients. Counselors and clients regularly review and revise counseling plans to assess their continued viability and effectiveness, respecting clients' freedom of choice.
Yeah. So just put your wife,
Okay. Okay, counseling planning, one more person, and then we'll talk about it. Anybody want to stab at it?
Counselors and their clients work jointly in devising counseling plans that offer reasonable promise of success and are consistent with the abilities, temperament, developmental level, and circumstances of clients. Counselors and clients regularly review and revise counseling plans to assess their continued viability and effectiveness, respecting clients' freedom of choice.
Okay. Clients and counselors and their clients work jointly. Okay. This is basically saying, remember, we gave them the freedom and let them know that they are making the decisions. We are not. We're just there to help you. So that's the plan. Whoops. Whoops. Support network involvement. Anybody? That one's small.
I'll go.
Okay.
Counselors recognize that support networks hold various meanings in the lives of clients and consider enlisting the support, understanding, and involvement of others, religious, spiritual, community leaders, family members, friends, as positive resources when appropriate with client consent. Sorry, I have the flu too. Just
No,
want to put
you're
that
okay.
out
I
there.
hope you feel better.
Thank you.
One more person, support network involvement.
I can do this.
Thank you.
Counselors recognize that support networks hold various meanings in the lives of clients and consider enlisting the support, understanding, and involvement of others, religious and spiritual community leaders, family members, friends, as positive resources when appropriate with client consent.
Okay. So we realize and we support and we recognize that if they want to talk about Jesus in the counseling, we're gonna let them talk about Jesus. If they want to praise him, go ahead, have your moment. Okay. You just let them, if they do something different, Hindu and all of that, you just let them do whatever they got to do. All right. We support it. We know that's a part of their life. You do what you have to do. You don't have to believe it, but you can support them with it. Okay. Here's one of the big ones, informed consent in the counseling relationship. Somebody want to go?
I'll read.
Thank you. Y'all
Clients
are
have the
so good. I'm sorry.
Clients have the freedom to choose whether to enter into or remain in a counseling relationship and need adequate information about the counseling process and the counselor. Counselors have an obligation to review in writing and verbally with clients the rights and responsibilities of both counselors and clients. Informed consent is an ongoing part of the counseling process. The counselors appropriately document discussions of informed consent throughout the counseling relationship.
Let me point out, informed consent is an ongoing part. Even though we started at the very beginning of this process, in the middle of the process, we're gonna go over it. Or if I have to add something, make a change, even if I say, oh, I want to use the empty chair method, I'm gonna put it in there. We use the empty chair method, and she said yes, and then have her sign it. Okay. Everything we do, we document, we talk with them, let them know, okay, I added something to the informed consent. Are we still okay with it? Okay. I charged $3,000. We still okay with that? Okay. Is your insurance still the same? All right. That's what that means, okay? This one is pretty long. Oh, somebody else got to read the informed consent. Anybody?
Clients have the freedom to choose whether to enter into or remain in a counseling relationship and need adequate information about the counseling process and the counselor. I said counselors. I meant to say clients at first. Counselors have an obligation to review in writing and verbally with clients the rights and responsibilities of both counselors and clients. Informed consent is an ongoing part of the counseling process, and counselors appropriately document discussions of informed consent throughout the counseling relationship.
Okay. Clients have the freedom to choose what?
Whether to enter into or remain in a counseling relationship.
They got the right. So we can't say, no, you said you was gonna stay in here, you gonna stay, you ain't leaving. No, if they want to go, let them go. Okay. This one is long, so we'll come back to that one. Developmental and cultural sensitivity. Anybody?
Counselors communicate information in ways that are both developmentally and culturally appropriate. Counselors use clear and understandable language when discussing issues related to informed consent. When clients have difficulty understanding the language that counselors use, counselors provide necessary services, arranging for a qualified interpreter or translator to ensure comprehension by clients. In collaboration with clients, counselors consider cultural implications of informed consent procedures and, where possible, counselors adjust their practices accordingly.
Thank you. Don't stress your voice. I appreciate it. I know you don't feel good. Anybody want to read it, or I can read it?
I'll go.
Thank you.
Counselors communicate information in ways that are both developmentally and culturally appropriate. Counselors use clear and understandable language when discussing issues related to informed consent. When clients have difficulty understanding the language that counselors use, counselors provide necessary services, arranging for a qualified interpreter or translator to ensure comprehension by clients. In collaboration with clients, counselors consider cultural implications of informed consent procedures, and where possible, counselors adjust their practices accordingly.
So if our counselor kind of speak, I mean, our clients, they speak English, but sometimes people can speak English and don't really understand English. Like some of my kids, they can speak it, but they can speak Spanish. No, they understand Spanish, but they can't speak it. So the opposite, if you know that they really don't understand what you're saying, you have to make sure that they can understand what the informed consent is talking about. Okay, because we have the welfare of who? We got to look out for
Client.
the client.
Client.
The client. Okay, that's gonna come up. I'm telling you, somebody just took it. All right, so the inability to give consent. I'll read it, or somebody will read behind me. I got any takers to read behind me? We're gonna have my back.
I'll read behind you, Brittany. I'm good.
Thank you. Okay, so when counseling minors, incapacitated counts the adults or whatever, or other persons unable to give voluntary consent. Counselors seek the assent. Remember I talked about for older people it's consent. For minors, you kind of want to say assent. So if the parent is giving consent, but I'm counseling this minor, I'm going to respect the minor and ask, do you give me assent to give them the information? Okay, so that's what that means. Also, someone who is kind of like on the like intellectually disabled to do it or whatever, but they have someone that work with them, you kind of want to give them the respect to ask them, do you give me assent to give it to them? And they say yes. They say no, then that's a whole different situation we have to work out. Okay, counselors recognize that the need to balance the ethical rights of clients to make choices. Their where am I? Capacity to give consent or assent to receive services, and parental or familiar legal rights and responsibilities to protect these clients and make decisions on their behalf. Okay.
I read it because I know Tiffany's. I got it because I know you're not feeling good.
No, I'm good, but go ahead. Go ahead. I'll get a couple more. Go ahead. Thank you, though.
No worries. When counseling minors, incapacitated adults, or other persons unable to give voluntary consent, counselors seek the assent of clients to services and include them in decision-making as appropriate. Counselors recognize the need to balance the ethical rights of clients to make choices, their capacity to give consent or assent to receive services, and parental or familial legal rights and responsibilities to protect these clients and make decisions on their behalf.
Okay, so we get that. We still asking for assent. That's just respect, right? Mandated clients, that's technically, so this is something my dad does. He's a social worker, and I kind of want to get into it too, but he has a deal with the courts that when these troubled people or teens get in trouble, that the court mandates them to either seek counseling or seek some kind of resources. So mandated clients, we have a ethical part for them too. So for mandated clients, counselors discuss the required limitations to confidentiality when working with a client who have been mandated, because remember, they're mandated, so I'm under the judge at this point, okay? So with that confidentiality, I have to tell them when working with them who's been mandated for counseling services that I'm require some limitations with your confidentiality, okay? Counselors also explain what type of information and with whom the information is shared prior to the beginning of the counseling. The client may choose to refuse services because they got the right. In this case, counselors will, to do the best of their ability, discuss with the client the potential consequences of refusing counseling services. We cannot make anybody talk to us. I know they're here because of the judge. If you come to all of your sessions and you don't say anything, I'm not gonna make you say anything. I'm just gonna write we didn't say anything. I'm gonna give it to the judge, and whatever happens, happens. But we do try to encourage them. Hey, you already here. Let's just work something out. Like, what's going on? Okay. Somebody else want to read the mandated client?
I could do it.
Thank you.
Counselors discuss the required limitations to confidentiality when working with clients who have been mandated for counseling services. Counselors also explain what type of information and with whom that information is shared prior to the beginning of counseling. The client may choose to refuse services. In this case, counselors in this case,
I know it threw
counselors
me off too.
will, to do the best of their ability, discuss with the client the potential consequences of refusing counseling services. I know you
Okay.
said that they could refuse it and you would just document that,
We
but
just documented they.
when it's mandated, are
Mhm.
there is there typically a number of sessions that comes along with?
Yep. So you get all of that from the judge. They probably have 6 sessions of something. And if they want to come to all 6 sessions and don't say anything, they don't have to say anything. If they don't want to come, then you document they did not come and you did what you were supposed to do, but you're just saying that I will try to get them to come. I will try to get them to talk. However, I can't make them. So it's on them if they don't do. Like it says right here, the counselor will, to best of their ability, to discuss with the client the potential consequences of refusing counseling services. So if it's mandated to them that they have to come to counseling for X, Y, and Z, and if they don't, then they have to serve time, then that's on them. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So clients served by others. Anybody? It's short.
I'll take it. When counselors learn that their clients are in a professional relationship with other mental health professionals, they request release from clients to inform the other professionals and strive to establish positive and collaborative professional relationships.
So when counselors learn that their clients are in a professional relationship with other mental health professionals, they request release from clients to inform the other professionals and strive to establish positive and collaborative professional relationships. Okay. Now, if they're in another relationship with other mental health people and they call you and they say, hey, I know you're seeing X, Y, and Z. Can you send me over the records that you have? Remember, you can send what you want to send. And then also you have to get client consent. Hey, I know you're seeing Dr. Shownuff and he called and asked for something. Is it okay for me to send it over? If he say yes, I'm gonna send you this release form I need you to sign. Okay. And on that release form is gonna say the date, the time that you told me yes that I can send this over, and I'm sending over what I think would be beneficial. that would not hurt you. Okay? Make sure that's clear. I'm going to read this types of information needed just because. So, counselors explicitly explain to clients the nature of all services provided. This kind of like will be in your informed consent. Okay. The informed client about issues such as, but not limited to, the following: the purposes, goals, techniques, procedures, limitations, potential risks, the benefits, and benefits of services, the counselor qualifications, credentials, relevant experience, and approach to counseling, continuation of services upon the incapacity that or death of the counselor. So you'll have to have a plan. If you die, what is your plan? And you have to put it in the informed consent. You have to have somebody that takes over and be like the next person that's in charge of all of your clients or things that will happen. So you have to have these things set up. Okay. And they have to be in the informed consent. If I die, you're going to talk to and report to Mr. James. Okay. Where am I? Death of the counselor, the role of the technology. So if you're going to use virtual, you have to put that in informed consent, how it's going to work. Counselors take steps to ensure that clients understand the implications of diagnosis and the intended use of tests and reports. If you're going to be testing in something very small as a Beck depression scale, you have to put that in there, okay? Additionally, counselors inform clients about fees, billing, arrangements, including procedures for non-payments of fees. Clients have the right to confidentiality and to be provided with the explanation of its limits, including how supervisors and/or treatments or interdisciplinary team professionals are involved. And then to obtain clear information about their records, to participate in ongoing counseling plans, and to refuse any services or modality changes, and to be advised of the consequences of such refusal. All of that have to be in your informed consent, okay? We kind of touched on that. Now, Section A is not that big, but I'm gonna pull out the important parts. Who wants to read sexual and/or romantic relationships prohibited?
I could do it.
Thank you.
Wait, are we on A5?
A5, right
Okay.
here.
Sexual and/or romantic counselor-client interactions or relationships with current clients, their romantic partners, or their family members are prohibited. This prohibition applies to both in-person electronic interactions or relationships.
Okay. We can't even be friends on social media. Okay. If they come and try to be your friend, you're gonna say no. If you see them in the store, you're gonna just nod. We're not even gonna interact. And you tell them in the informed consent, if I see you outside of here, I just want you to know I'm not acting funny, but I have obligation to make sure that we have boundaries with each other. So if I see you, I might just look at you, nod my head, and say hi, but that's it. I'm not coming to talk to you or anything like that. Okay. Previous sexual and/or romantic relationships, counselors are prohibited from engaging in counseling relationship. Remember, if you've seen them naked, you can't counsel them. Okay? I don't care if it's a mama, sister, brother, cousin, because we see them naked too. We cannot see them. I mean, we cannot counsel them. Okay? The sexual and romantic relationships with former clients. Somebody want to read this? This is one of the rules. Well, I'm not gonna do that.
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Sexual and/or romantic counselor-client interactions or relationships with former clients, their romantic partners, or their family members are prohibited for a period of 5 years
For
following
how long?
5 years.
5. Gotcha.
5 years following the last professional contact. This
Uh-huh.
prohibition applies to both in-person and electronic interactions or relationships. Counselors, before engaging in sexual and or romantic interactions or relationships with former clients, their romantic partners, or their family members, demonstrate forethought and document in written form whether the interaction or relationship can be viewed as exploitive in any way and or whether there is still potential to harm the former client. In cases of potential exploitation and or harm, the counselor avoids entering into such an interaction or a relationship.
So even after 5 years, you still see that I mean, I did my part. I counseled you, but you still look a little wacky. Don't sleep with them. Just don't do it, or it can cause potential harm. Okay. Where am I? Let's do personal, virtual. We kind of talked about that. None. I want y'all to see. We got documentations of the boundaries. Remember, we talked about, and I told you, if I see you, I'm not gonna talk to you. However, can we attend a client's wedding? What you think?
I
Yes,
thought
if
if
we're
it,
supporting, right?
yeah, if it,
Hmm?
Yes, you can.
you can.
Yes, you can. If this is a client that you have been seeing for a while and you watch them grow up and they're getting married, you can go. However, you're going to sit in the back. You're not going to engage and you're not going to be on the dance floor or anything like that. You go, you show your support, and then you leave. We still have boundaries and code of ethics that we have to withhold. Okay? Got it? Here's the multiple. Here go bartering. Who wants to read bartering? Just because it's one of the important ones I pulled out that's on the test. Who want to
I
read
can
it?
read it.
Okay.
Counselors may barter only if bartering does not result in exploitation or harm. If the client requests it, and if such arrangements are an accepted practice among professionals in the community. Counselors consider cultural implications of bartering and discuss relevant concerns with clients and document such agreements in a clear written contract.
Mm-hmm. So if anybody saw that question I put on Facebook, yeah. Oh, it was about gifts, but bartering. We can take chickens if that's what's happening around here and the doctor taking it, then I can take it. Okay? As long as you're not exploiting them. Like I'll see you for a session if you give me that bay horse you got. I'll take that. We can't do that. Okay? Receiving gifts. We read that already, right? One of them, because they have them multiply. Like all of these go over to section B. All of these go over to section C. Just keep reiterating. Protecting, I need to see one about court. I need y'all to see the court one. Abandonment and neglect, client neglect. Let's read that one. Somebody read that one.
I could do it.
Thank you.
Counselors do not abandon or neglect clients in counseling. Counselors assist in making appropriate arrangements for the continuation of treatment when necessary during interruptions such as vacation, illness, and following termination.
Mm-hmm. You can't just leave them hanging. I mean, if you're going on vacation, you need to set up a plan for them. You'll be seeing such and such, or I'll be gone. If I'm gone and you're feeling this way, you need to call this number, that number, and reach out to this, okay? You still want boundaries. If you on vacation, you can be on vacation. You can't abandon them and you can't neglect them. If you're closing your practice, you have to have a plan of how you're going to refer all these clients to other people. Then you have to make sure you write it and reiterate it in that informed consent. Again, everything document, make them sign it, you sign it, date it, even phone calls. You have to track every single thing. Basically, this is what this is saying. Court. There's one about court. I need to find it. Client's limitation, confidentiality. Okay, so there's one. Here go the end of life decisions. Somebody read this one. This one is actually on the NCE. The ones that I pulled out is on the NCE, so let's read them.
Counselors who provide services to terminally ill individuals who are considering, what is that, hastening
Yeah,
their
hastening. Basically, give me the pills. I'm ready to die.
hastening their own deaths have the option to maintain confidentiality depending on applicable laws and the specific circumstances of the situation, and after seeking consultation or supervision from appropriate professional and legal parties.
Okay, so in some states, they don't allow them to do that. Some states, they give them the option. If they want to die quick because they got this terrible illness, they can do it. If they disclosed it to us in counseling first, we don't say anything. Like, that's just their business. And we don't disclose it to family or anyone else. Even if the doctor asks for it, we say no. Okay. If you are, for example, contagious illness like HIV, do I break confidentiality if somebody come into counseling and saying, yeah, I got AIDS, but I don't want to tell my husband?
Don't we have to encourage them to tell, and then if they don't, we got a duty to warn?
Let's read it. You want to read it?
Where are we?
Right here, B2, contagious life-threatening disease.
Sure. When
Thank
clients
you.
disclose that they have a disease commonly known to be both communicable and life-threatening, counselors may be justified in disclosing information to identifiable third parties if the parties are known to be at serious or foreseeable risk of contracting the disease. Prior to making a disclosure, counselors assess the intent of clients to inform the third parties about their disease or to engage in any behaviors that may be harmful to an individual third party. Counselors adhere to relevant state laws concerning disclosure about disease status.
That's your answer. We're going to adhere to the state law. Got it?
Dag, I did everything else first, though.
Yes. You will encourage them. Please tell them, because here's the tricky part, okay? So say that they got HIV, right? Do we know for sure every time they have sex with somebody that is going to transmit HIV? Can you 100% say that?
No.
No, but somebody got arrested for purposefully transmitting.
Yes. And guess what? In that state, they probably said, you better. They have slander laws, like the laws overpower the ethics. However, the ethics is just for us and our practice and what we should and what we should not do. For the answer of this is going to be adhere to the state law. Got it? Court order disclosures. Okay? Court order disclosures. There's something called privilege communication. Okay? It is a privilege that your client is telling you information. If my client got in trouble for killing somebody before the counseling, and then he comes to counseling, and he tell me, I'm not going to tell the judge that he killed somebody. He can come in the office with blood on him and say he just killed his wife. I cannot say anything. That's crazy, but it's true. I cannot say anything. I have to keep his confidentiality to me. Now, if the court ordered me, like the court say you got to come in with this information, the best thing that we can do is ask them, can you narrow the scope? Because I have privileged communication, I have privileged right, privilege information that I really don't want to disclose everything. Can you narrow the scope to one thing and I'll give it to you? The judge can say yes or no, but you did your duty. So somebody read court order disclosure and then it'll tell you. Now I'm gonna have to move it up. I'll do it because it looked like a lot to move up. So when ordered by a court to release confidential or privileged information, is it up here? Without client's permission, because you're gonna have to get the permission from the client, like, hey, they subpoena me to go in there, but I gotta give them something. Counselors seek to obtain written informed consent from the client or take steps to prohibit the disclosure or have it limited and narrowly as possible because potential harm to the client or counseling relationship could be done. So the court they subpoenaed you and they said you need to come in and bring. First of all, we're not going to send records, we're going to bring them ourselves. Okay. Then we're going to do whatever we can to protect our client. Okay. Even if they just kill somebody, I ain't saying nothing. The judge will have to give the one thing they're looking for, and I'll let you see it. So you're gonna ask them, can you narrow the scope? Can you make it as small as you can? Because I have privileged information and I don't want to incriminate my client. So you know. Now, if you get subpoenaed or a request from a lawyer or from someone like that, you can just answer the subpoena and say, I received it, and thanks, but no thanks. You don't have to attend those. Only the judge and the court. If a lawyer subpoena you and want to know this information, you can say no, thank you. But you have to let them know that you received it, and then mark and sign and put you received it, but you're not going to participate. Okay? Anything to protect your client. Crazy, huh? But we gotta know it. Third-party payers. Okay? Counselors disclose information to third-party players only when clients have authorized such disclosure. So, for an example, if an insurance company call you and they see that this client has a diagnosis for let's see, MDD, major depressive disorder, and you have to bill for 16 sessions. They say that they see that the client has been dealing with certain things. Can we know more information about that? But we're going to tell them, I cannot give you information about that, but let me go ahead and check with my client to see if I have they're okay to disclose this information. Okay? These are just the important things. In group, you have to let them know that you will try your best to uphold their confidentiality. However, it's group, you cannot guarantee confidentiality, okay? I think those are the main. Yeah, that's all A. We even got into some B. I'm sorry, y'all. Any questions? Anything you want to see? Hmm. For group work, do you know you have to screen your group? Anybody?
Yes,
Okay, what is screening your group?
making sure that the clients are appropriate for the type of group you're putting together.
Do you mind reading this code of ethic under group work screening?
Sure. Counselors screen prospective group counseling slash therapy participants to extent possible. Counselors select members whose needs and goals are compatible with the goals of the group, who will not impede the group process, and whose well-being will not be jeopardized by the group experience.
So if you see somebody who look like they just gonna tell everybody business, you have the right to tell them you're not a good fit for this group. However, you could recommend them for a different group, or maybe you should work a little bit on yourself without a group. Okay? All recommendations. You cannot tell them, but it's all recommendations. Okay, guys, so that was all for section A. All of the main important things. I hope we learned something.
Thank you, Brittany.
You're welcome. Now, the next week, thank you to everybody who read. That meant a lot. Now, next week, remember, it's section B. It's the same ethics, but different small things in there that I think is very important. Like it'll move here to self-referrals and unacceptable business practices and things like that. So please come and be ready to read.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very, very
Brittany.
much.
you.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see
Thank
y'all later.
you.
Good night. You're welcome.